That's right. We house the task force at the Department of Commerce. We will convene data scientists, members of the manufacturing industry, technologists, and various other stakeholders to advise members of Congress and our federal government about what the future of AI legislative and regulatory policy should look like, so that, again, everyone can meaningfully participate, be skilled up, so that they can fit right into an economy driven by AI. And also, we want to make sure that people's privacy is protected and that these algorithms are unbiased.
Go ahead, Senator.
Well, I just adding on that, we wanted to look at 4 areas that we thought were important. One, what are the areas of competition that the U.S. should be mindful of, given other people's investment in AI, whether that's China or other countries, and where do we fall into keeping our R&D prowess here, and what do we need to do to keep that going? We're going from here to an energy hearing where I'm going to be very concerned about the level of cuts in the R&D budget for energy. The fact that people want to zero out ARPA-E in this administration is just like crazy. So what do we need to do to keep the level of competitiveness? And then, as Senator Young mentioned, both privacy and bias will also be part of the discussion. And then lastly, workforce. What are the workforce implications, and what do we need to do about that? Both in capturing, I can tell you right now, if you have any kind of AI education, please head to Seattle, Washington. We need you. The employers there are telling me, it's a very, very, very competitive field right now for anybody who has any expertise here, and it's just going to grow. So what do we need to do to both grow the workforce in this area, and what do we need to do to prepare and diversify our workforce too? So those are the 4 pillars of the legislation, and I think that we are not saying that's the only thing to be discussed, but at least it gives us a framework for the important policies that are out there today.
Sure. If I'm reading between the lines correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I gather from that is that you think that some of your peers, perhaps in Congress and throughout Washington, maybe aren't equipped to understand the AI issues. They're not familiar with them. They're not talking to some of the companies in the way that you guys are. Is Congress equipped to tackle AI right now?
I don't think we are. That's why we've created this panel. I like a measure of humility from my legislators, and this is certainly an emerging field. And what we need to do before we prescriptively regulate or legislate in this area is understand what sort of challenges and opportunities are created by this technology, recognizing it's inevitable that we will continue to have advancements in machine learning and data science and all the other sort of subsets of artificial intelligence.
What would you like to see from the Trump administration right now? I know there was that whole controversy about a year ago with Steve Mnuchin saying that it's going to be a long time before AI starts to have an impact on the economy. What would you like to see from the Trump administration on AI?
Well, the last administration, the Obama administration, did a report and came out with some basic findings. One of them was the huge economic potential in AI for us as a nation. So I think that those ramifications need to be followed up on. That report, I think, outlined some areas in which we could all agree that we need further investment. To me, I think maybe we're even talking about an AI engineering institute similar to what exists now at Carnegie Mellon for software, something where we're going to talk about standards, we're going to talk about certification processes, we're going to talk about, a lot of the issues we just discussed. So what is that next phase of development, and then following up on what are some of those applications that best are suited to us at the federal level, those applications that are going to help us, whether it is cybersecurity or disaster relief issues, big data information driven. It kind of bugs me that the Europeans on the weather forecasting, just because they use supercomputing for their algorithms, are constantly producing better data on storm and storm impact than we are. So what are we going to do to stay competitive on some of these important issues? So I think the Trump administration should take the Obama administration recommendations here and go further on that investment. Now, I don't know where the president is on science. If I could, do anything, I would give him a little tattoo right there, science, because I think I think he needs to put a more down payment, on these areas. But that's again a very Northwest perspective of, kind of view of the world.
Senator.
Well, I would start with the recognition that contrary to conventional economic belief, countries do compete, not just firms. And there's a competition in the realm of AI right now. And so we need to make some strategic investments as a country, in particular technologies, and AI strikes me as a natural one, based on our existing expertise in both data science and supercomputing. You mesh the two and you get artificial intelligence capabilities. So we need to make some strategic bets. Once we decide what those bets should be, we need to invest in those particular areas. I don't think it's a real obstacle that the Trump administration hasn't been prescriptive in this area. I actually welcome it. As a member of Congress, I think it's great that we have an opportunity to legislate in this space as opposed to having very little interaction with the executive branch, which is what I experienced during my 6 years in the House of Representatives. So I see this as an opportunity, and I think it's a good opportunity for bipartisan work, and that's what Maria and I are doing with this AI legislation.
Sure. Let's